An inspiring life story is the account of a moment when an extraordinary person reveals the key that unlocked the door to their success. Among the many themes explored in these narratives are triumphs over adversity and the shattering of previously established boundaries. Not only can you as an individual motivate others to chase their dreams, but you can also provide them with the means they need to keep going strong once they reach their goals. Though its context, I don't condone. Its presence and vibe, it won't leave me alone. Its influence brings nothing pleasant, though its making taught valuable lessons. Never did I envision wanting to embrace an incriminating existence congesting so much space. Letting go was hard, though it shouldn't have been. The harm, the harm it imposed couldn't have been seen. Regardless of how my journey takes shape, its over reluctance will not let me escape. Its contents possessing timeless nature, misguiding my perspective, thinking it safer. In the midst of discharge, I try standing tall. Its temporary delight always causes me to fall. This time I remove the blindfold, refusing to drop, overseeing its resistance, knowing it will not stop, stopping it in its tracks as it was dressing, quickly discovering it's revealing a lesson. Welcome, everyone, to the Live and Learn podcast, the show where we explore the fascinating journey of personal growth, share life-changing stories, and dive deep into the lessons that shape who we are. I'm your host, Walter Williams, and I'm beyond excited to embark in this empowering and enlightening journey with you. Before we get into introducing my special guest today, that poem that I shared with you is entitled Blind Reveal. And what that poem entails or expresses is the importance of embracing the struggles and the challenges that you go through in your journey, looking for the lesson that is trying to deliver you. We get so wrapped up in our adversities and our stresses that sometimes we try to avoid it. But instead of trying to avoid it, ask it, what is it trying to teach me? What is it trying to show me that I haven't listened to or haven't seen before? So now we're going to introduce our special guest, who is the CEO and founder of the Grand Enterprises Movement and the podcast, The Gym, who I had the special privilege of being on. She is an influencer, a public speaker, business development consultant, and a grant writer, which I'm noting. Tami's main mission is to inspire people 24/7 with a heart to serve and help others overcome barriers to success. And I also just found out that she loves to eat tacos on Tuesday. Please welcome my special guest, Tami Torres. Welcome, Tami. How are you today?
Good. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast today. It is a pleasure to have you on the Live and Learn podcast. So, what made you decide to be interested to join the podcast today?
Well, I mean, we met through the Black Speakers Network, and when you first asked to be on my podcast, I wanted to see who you were and what you were about, right? So I dug deep into your, bio and looked into, what you do with deep discussions. And I was like, man, I really like this. And then you introduced your annual planner, which is out right now, y'all, Amazon and everywhere else you can find your favorite books or whatever. But, you know, all of that when you came on initially to my podcast and we interviewed you all about, your podcast and your businesses and what you do for a living and your family life. And I was just like, wow, this is cool. And then you introduced your planner. And then I was like, well, we got to bring you back on so you can talk about the planner. And then you came back on and it was just good energy. And I said, I would definitely love to reciprocate this, the same energy on your podcast. I love your messaging. I love what you guys are doing, and I just think that God doesn't make any mistakes when he introduces you to the right people. We never know why we get to interact and exchange with people. Then we found out that we both live in the same area. It's like, oh my gosh,
Right.
really? which is so cool. You know what I mean? Like I just think that sometimes people, you never realize where new friendships can arise from, business connections and all of that. And I'm like, you know what? You got to treat people well, because at the end of the day, you never know when you might turn back around and either need them or, run into them again. And you want it to be a positive exchange. So I'm here for it.
Absolutely. I definitely can can agree and echo that sentiment. It's always a blessing to meet, well-rounded, like-minded people, but also people that, offer fascinating and a genuine perspective on, their journeys on life. And, I just remember when we first met, it was just something that, that energy that I felt about you that just really made me say, not only, am I doing the right thing because, my mission and my journey is introducing me to people like you, but, there are great people to connect with who has, similar interests, as me. So it's definitely been a blessing for us to connect. And, it doesn't have to stop with us being on each other's podcast. We can definitely do great things in this world together beyond our podcast.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I got you. I'm bringing you here for the men's speaking event.
Yep.
That's coming in spring, but
On the
definitely got to
lookout.
bring you there to be one of our speakers for sure. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. Just keep me
Yes,
posted.
absolutely.
So our chosen professions are a combination of, the countless inspiring stories that we have can attest to. So can you describe your profession, the moment when you realize your calling, and at that moment when you realized it, how did it take off and where did it launch you to?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, one thing I forgot to mention, y'all, and Lord forgive me. Lord forgive me. But I am a minister of the gospel.
Wow.
Um, so my profession by day is I am a business consultant and a grant writer. So I do that professionally. I do it for a nonprofit organization and also for profit organizations that are mission driven, right? So a lot of people don't realize that their LLC could get funding as long as they're mission driven, and you can partner with nonprofits and different things like that. So I help businesses to first realize where their opportunities lie. And that's where the business development comes in. I don't like to just jump in and write grants. I'd like to really understand my client's business. And that started in about 2013. I was working for a nonprofit organization. They brought me in as a regional director for DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And that was my introduction to the DMV, because I'm from New York, but then I lived in Pennsylvania. I got the job offer here. And I was like, you know what? I like this opportunity, definitely. And so me and my husband at the time and our children, we moved here, relocated here. I took the job. And one of my first assignments was the my supervisor. She was the VP of our region of behavior health. And she was like, I really need a grant writer on our team. I need someone who actually, can write grants and do business development. And I was like, well, I got you with the business development, but I don't know nothing about grants. So she was just like, well, we're going to teach you. I was like, really? I was like, okay. So she sent me through a grant writing course, and it was through the Maryland Nonprofit Exchange. And I went through that. It was like a 6 weeks course. And I was like, I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm super silly. And so she paired me with our grant writer for, at the time I was working for Volunteers of America, Chesapeake. And we had a huge budget, and of course, a department that was focused primarily on fundraising, development, and grant writing. And so I sat with the grant writer, and she literally showed me how to research grants, acquire grants, and then how to make sure that we manage grants so that we can get them again and each year, and have sustainability in our programming. And so once I saw that process a few times, I was like, okay, let me try, right? Like a big kid. And so I tried it, and I actually won my first grant. I was happy about that. I was like, you know what? And it wasn't no small grant, y'all. It was $1 million. And I was like, you know
Oh,
what?
okay.
This is cool. And so I felt like I had a gift, but I didn't want to do that full time. Like at the time I was a regional director. I love what I was doing. And then fast forward, I got laid off from that job. And I got asked to be the CEO for another company. And being a CEO for another company, I had to write grants. And so I was like, I'm gonna have to use those skills. And I said, God, you funny. Okay. So I was sent there to learn and do all the things. And I was there for a while. And then I got promoted, not by default, because I wasn't trying to leave the other job. And I got promoted to an executive director position where I actually had to do it full time. And literally, I was like, this is cool. I can see myself doing it. And then I think probably after like the first year of doing it as part, like in doing my regular role every single day and doing that, it started becoming like a bit much. I was like, this is a lot. Like, you actually need a separate person to write grants, right? And so I was like, what if I did this on the side and then like did just my CEO stuff like here? And it didn't work out. So long story short, maybe about 5 years after being executive director for a company, I decided I wanted to do my business full time. And I gave birth to the gem 2.5 years ago. And at first it was slow, and I was like, you know what? I wear a multitask. I do different businesses, and I was like, Lord, I got to make the ends meet, right? And so the grant stuff wasn't taking off as fast as I thought. So I was like, I'm just gonna give up on that. I'm just gonna leave it. I was like literally giving up on it. And my mom was like, you can't give up on it. God is going to use that to really bless you, to really, bless other people, to take it from it being more so like a chore or seeming like it's a job to more so ministry. And I was like, really, how? And so, and I had no idea how. And so I'm gonna end it here where I went to a church, a mega church you might know of, Reed Temple in Prince George's County, and I was looking for a part-time job as a youth leader, it was youth ministry pastor. It was the youth ministry pastor. And I applied for the job. They interviewed me and everything. In my first interview, they said, well, this is more of a business development role. We really are looking for somebody who can help us to grow it from from the bottom up. It's a nonprofit, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, yeah, I do that. I work for nonprofits for 20 something years. I was like, I do business development. I write grants. They was like, what? Hold up. You here for the wrong thing. And then it came back to me about writing grants. And so this mega church asked me to write grants for them and brought me in full time to write grants for them. And when I say that was the best experience of my life, I learned so much. And this was literally 2.5 years ago. And it was the best experience because, one, I got to learn the background of the church. And as a minister, I didn't have that experience because with the church that I was ordained under, the UMC, it was a different setup than the AME. And so I wasn't really familiar with the business side of things. So when I came in under the AME and I learned more of the business side of things, it actually helped me to like want to do more to help our community, right? To help the faith-based community, the Brown and Latino community, and really just, helping people that are in need more than ever before. And so I took on the task to help write grants for the church. And man, we took off. I mean, I think we ended up by the time I fully left and was like, you know what, I'm doing this full time again for myself or whatever, 4.1 million under my belt. And I was just like, wow, look at God. So I knew at that point, okay, this is a gift. I have a gift. One, I have a gift to build relationships, which that is really what grant writing is all about, is having relationships with people and being able to go into any room and talk to people. And I'm that person, you know this.
Oh, of course, I know.
Right. So I embrace it. And I literally went from just doing grants here in the DMV to now I have clients across the nation. I have clients that are springing up in LA. I got about 6 clients in LA now. I have clients that are springing up in Detroit. I have clients in New York, clients down in Florida now. And this is something I like literally, but you know how they say, be careful what you ask for. I literally wrote in my manifestation journal, I said, Lord, this year I'm going to truly focus on writing grants and things like that. But then I got real specific. I said, I will be a multimillionaire. I will help other communities besides just our community, right? I will, make sure that whatever I do, I operate in excellence. I just really started manifesting and putting into the atmosphere that I am this and I am that, those I am statements. And literally, just like that, I literally, and within a couple months, like I went from just doing business here in Maryland to my ex-husband, he lives in LA. And so I told him what I was doing. He was just asking, you still write grants? I was like, yeah. And he was like, I got a client for you. Got a client for me in LA. And then, when you do good business for somebody, and that's why I always tell people, do good business, treat people well. I did good business for that one client. She referred me to somebody else. He referred me to two more people. They referred me to other people. Now I got six paid clients, y'all. And I know that sounds small, but I'm talking about clients that are paying thousands of dollars for my services, and they're winning grants. Now I'm coming into their organizations from across country, and I'm literally teaching virtual classes on how to win grants, using a Power 25 method that I use. So I know that was like long-winded and all that, Walter. I told you I'm coming on here to talk. I'm sorry, but yeah. So now I'm teaching other people how to do it, because I want people to learn, and I'm not a selfish person. I believe there's enough out here for all of us. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry. That's a lot.
No, no, it's good. No, that was good. Because see, the thing about it too is like when you had sent me over the introduction, I had no idea that you did grant writing. So like look, just learning today, like when you sent me the message earlier this morning that you did grant writing, and hearing all of this is just really opening my eyes and my mind to like, oh wow, okay. Because I didn't really know a lot about your platform, honestly, for this conversation. All I really knew is that you had a podcast. I went on your Facebook page trying to figure out like what exactly is it that she's doing. I couldn't find a website or anything.
I know.
So it left me even more intrigued and looking forward to this conversation, because like I see your energy and I see you still been having this thing going on. I'm like, she got all of this, but I have no idea what she does. So it kept me like suspended.
I got to do a better job at that though.
Well, I mean, do you have a website?
Not yet. Literally, like this literally took life over the last few months. And I'm saying that because you know how you get a client, you get a couple clients here or there or whatever the case may be. Like that's literally what I did. I got a couple clients here and there. And so I was like, okay. But now it is taking off. So I'm like, I gotta get a website. Like somebody recently said, you gotta have a website, Tami. You know that, right?
You do.
I was like, I do for my speaking engagements. So I do for my public speaking, but that's not the grant writing. That's not your business consultant business. So yeah. I'm meeting with some folks to talk about that, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, your business is booming. So, it's yeah, you definitely gonna need to do a website. And I love the segue. Speaking of booming, the next step or the next part of our discussion is the part that I like to call boom, which is biggest obstacle overcome or met. So what would you say was your toughest obstacle that you're either still facing and trying to overcome, or that you have faced and overcame, and what did you learn from it?
I would have to say it's hard for me to relinquish some certain aspects of the business, right? And get an assistant. I am somebody, I've been literally, that's why I don't have a website. That's my problem. I need, and Mark Smith, bless his heart. I love me some Mark Smith. I don't know if you know him yet, but he's like, there's nothing wrong with getting an assistant. And I was like, I'm not ready for an assistant yet. I'll do all the work. So I do have a meeting coming up with a young lady who met me through the Black Speakers Network. She actually does virtual assistants, but I think that's probably a big challenge for me is being able to hire an assistant. And I think part of the reason why is because I feel like I don't know where to place, like how to really give them enough to need it. You know what I'm saying? Like and that's a challenge. And if I'm being honest, that is a challenge. Like I don't know where to insert an assistant. And people say you don't know what you need until you actually like need it and can use it. And I'm like, well, I don't know how I would really use an assistant in what I do. But I guess someone to maybe help me with my websites, manage it, my social media platforms, maybe someone that can help me just with setting up appointments and following up with my clients and just things like that. Um, and I'm trying to quantify it. So we'll see. Because right now, I don't know. So that's a challenge for me.
Oh, okay. So then, so when you say that, trying to, I guess, hiring an assistant or, asking for help, because that's something that a lot of people struggle with, and that's one of the life skills that I actually focus on when it comes to overcoming adversity. Um, so when you say like trying to get an assistant or, you know, having a willingness to get help, like what do you think you've learned most or have discovered most in being in that willingness to help thus far in your journey as you still try to overcome that?
I think that from a spiritual aspect, I think that a part of it could be fear. And I think because we don't always realize when fear creeps up inside of us, and it happens so quickly that we want to call it something else when honestly that's what it is. And it's an unintentional fear. Like it's not something like you don't think about it, it happens. And it's like, what, because I think about, can I afford another person, can I sustain this, am I consistent enough to help them to be consistent enough, like all the things. And so, and within that, I learned that I have to like be okay um with eventually allowing somebody else to come into my business to assist me and to really help me to broaden my horizons, because I'm getting big. Like I'm, not me per se, but the work that God wants me to do is getting big. And so me being the steward ready to do the work, he's using me so that I can, and I'm reaching far. And I can't lose sight of the mission because of fear, because I'm like, I don't know if I could trust this person. I don't know if they're going to do the right thing. Do I need to hold their hands? Do I need to micromanage? All of the things, right? And so that's the fear. And so if I just trust God and I feel like, God is aligning me to do his will in a unique way, like I just got to trust that. I got to trust that.
Amen to that. That was a word there. Um, and I think, before we transition over to the spiritual relief segment, I think that one of the things that we must learn too, and having the willingness to seek help, because that's something that I struggle with too. I think that one of the things that I've learned in my journey with becoming okay with asking for help is to know that you can't do it all. And when other people are helping you, that's not necessarily you saying you need help from others. That's you realizing you can't do it all and you need God. And sometimes God is those people that are helping you. And because God knows your strengths, but he also knows your weaknesses. And with God, you have no weaknesses. Those weaknesses are pretty much taken care of because you have God. So that's one of the things that that I've learned in my journey. And it sounds like that's something that you're carrying out as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now we're going to transition over to the spiritual relief segment. And again, this is a segment where I share a message from God, and it's just so funny how all of this stuff is just like segueing over to the next thing today. So I thank God for that because I'm all kind of off kilter because I think the last time I actually did a podcast because um I moved, many of you may know, I just bought a house about 2 months ago. So I kind of been uh, off script for a little bit. So I feel kind of out of sorts. But, again, God always makes a way. So that's why I created this segment because I always like to recognize and celebrate God in my life. So today the word comes from John chapter 16 and it's verse 33. And it reads, I've told you these things so that in me you have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. This verse right here is something that I should make the staple of my platform, because what this verse says to me is with God, you can find peace in all things. When you find, again, it's just all pieces together. When you find the lesson, the message, or whatever it is that God is trying to show you in your troubling moments, you can always find peace. That's something that I learned, as an adult when I went through probably one of the most like adverse and troubling times in my life. It took me so long to really overcome and, realize, have practice self-awareness with that because I wasn't trying to find a lesson. All I was trying to find was fulfillment and, trying to find satisfaction. But when are you going to learn the lesson? The lesson is what should be your satisfaction because, no one is perfect. But if you seek God and seek the messages that he's trying to give you, you can always grow closer to perfection because God is perfect.
Well, just drop the mic right there. Amen. 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 No, that's facts. I mean, you know, that ties into what we were just talking about as far as like the fear piece,
Mhm.
and that's why you said this one message builds upon each other. So, hearing that, I'm like, man, God, you are so dope. Like this is a right on time word and it's right on time moment. Like this moment is not by mistake. And I tell people, count your blessings every single moment, minute by minute, because what God has for you is for you. You sharing that scripture is honestly what I needed to hear right now. I needed to hear not to worry, not to fret, not to fear, not to think that things won't happen the way they need to. Everything will fall in place. Trust the process, trust the process. And everything is the process. So even with me, I know it sounds like a simple thing, but even with me needing to hire an assistant, even getting my website up and running and making sure that like I'm structured properly and all of that. Yeah, the business is registered and stuff, but I'm talking about like all of the ways to be automated and making sure that things are flowing. All of that, it takes going through the process and trusting the process as you go through it. So good stuff. Good stuff.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, and one last thing too. One of the things that I learned or that I've been learning is, you know, we live in a never satisfied society. We're always like, what's the next thing? I just got this. Now I'm already focused on trying to get the next thing. But, and I have to always remind myself, if we had every single thing that we wanted and quote unquote needed, then when will we have room for God? If you had every single thing. So that's why, we need to learn to be, like you said, count our blessings, be grateful and thankful for what we do have, because those things that we don't have are the reason we don't have those things because we need to make room for God. You can't, substitute happiness and the joy that God brings you with possessions and items. So that's one of the things that I have to constantly remind myself of because again, I'm human. I always want new things. I always want, bigger and better. But I have to be reminded God is the biggest and the best. All right. So now let's have a little bit of fun here. So this segment, in my opinion, it took me the longest time to come up with a name for this segment. And I probably will change it. So don't fall in love with that title. But in this segment, I create a list of 3 to 5 fun things depending on what we talked about. So Tammy had told me ahead of our conversation, she said Happy Taco Tuesday. And I was like, I guess, because I had just finished dealing with a messy son. So when she told me Happy Taco Tuesday, I was like, God told me that for a reason, and it was to help me create this segment. What is what are the foods that you look forward to eating the most after a long day of work? Now, for me, I'm usually looking for a bottle or a can of beer, but if we're talking about food, for me, I love my favorite foods are I love chili, especially during this time of the season. I love chili. I love dang, I ain't do a good job of thinking of this topic, did I? Because I love so many foods. But I do love cheeseburgers and probably pizza. So that's after a long day of work. Now, if we talking about a big meal. I'm not cooking no long cooked meal after a long day of work. I want something fast and easy. Give me a cheeseburger, some pizza, and and probably some chili. Those are probably my three favorite things.
Wow. Well, you know, one of mine's tacos. I love tacos, and I literally just made tacos, y'all. Tacos nachos is
Nachos, man. Whew, you
a
can't go
top
wrong with
two,
some not with nachos and
right?
a good dip.
And I make it at home from scratch, y'all. I make all my
Oh
stuff.
man.
Yeah,
You said
yeah.
you
I
live
cut
out
up
by me?
everything.
You said you
Huh?
live out by me?
Right?
Okay. All right. We
Tell you
gonna
why
meet
we gonna
somewhere
have
so I can
all.
try this.
I'll come over for Taco Tuesday. Tell you why we gonna do Taco Tuesday. I'll bring the boys. See, my boys can play with your boys. Yep.
No
So
good to
they
me.
can all hang out. Right. Yep. So him and the youngest are close in age, so that'll work out. We can do
Okay.
Taco Tuesday. So tacos, I love, and I know this is such a cliche. Y'all know I'm a New Yorker. I love pizza. I
All
love
right.
pizza.
I ain't
I
from New York
love
and I
pizza.
love pizza. So
Yes, I love pizza, y'all, especially from Gateways. Um, right here in Columbia. I always be shouting out
Gateway. Oh,
business.
okay. Columbia, by Columbia Gateway?
Yes, yep. It's
How
called
long they been
Gateway.
around? Have they been around for a while?
They've been around for a while, and they actually have other food in there too. Like they're ran by a I want to say Middle Eastern because they have like the curries and all of that type of stuff in there. Like they have a lot more on the menu than just pizza, but their pizza is so good. It's like amazing.
Okay.
I'm
Good to
like,
me.
y'all showing
No,
off.
eat
All
me.
right, y'all. Let me stay focused.
Yeah, yeah.
So
All
tacos,
right.
nachos, pizza, and my mama's fried chicken.
How did I not think of fried chicken?
My mama's fried chicken.
Oh man. Mm. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't fry chicken a lot at my house. I don't, but my mother, when she cooks and she fries chicken, she know to call me. Cause I don't fry, like I don't eat a lot of fried foods at home. So yeah, when my mom
Okay.
fry that chicken, I'll be like, yes,
Ooh,
girl.
yeah. That's a good list. I think your list wins because everybody can relate to pretty much everything you said on that list. So
Yes.
I think your list wins. And again, I want to reiterate, this is food after a long day of work. I know we just coming off of Thanksgiving. I ain't talking about that kind of food. Because after a long day of work, I'm not coming home making no Thanksgiving meal.
No.
So so that's what that was all about. So I appreciate you sharing your list.
Yes.
Um Before we close out, I just want to know how can people get in touch with you if people want to take on your grant writing courses, me
Mhm.
included,
Yes.
or just want to, find out more about your services, how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you guys can follow me on social media at the dash gem on Instagram, on YouTube, and also on Facebook. And then on I think and TikTok. I'm on TikTok. Now, you can also follow my personal page at I am Tami Torres, IamTamiTorres. And then you can email me at inspire 24 by 7 at gmail.com. And I'm gonna give y'all my number too, y'all. 240-807-9030. That's my cell. So if you are interested in either taking my next grant writing course or if you are interested in grants for your business, please definitely reach out to me. We can schedule consultation and talk about what you want to do and how we can diversify funding aligned with your programming. So
And now, what were those middle three numbers again? You said 240
807
807.
9030.
I know a lot of people that can probably benefit from your grant writing. I
Yes.
like my wife is in the nonprofit space, and
Mm.
like ever since she's gotten into the nonprofit space, I somehow feel like I didn't floated my way into it a little bit. And my aunt just started her own nonprofit that I'm actually on the board of directors with.
Nice.
So I may be sending her and her vice president. They might even be trying to send me to you because I'm the treasurer.
Okay.
So we may be meeting with you, but I'm gonna talk to her about it first. But I know a lot of people in the nonprofit space.
Okay.
I'll
Mm.
definitely if I have some people that are interested, reach out to you because
Absolutely.
we definitely got to keep each other going because it sounds like you got a lot of momentum going, and we
I do. And I'm like,
mode.
I'm just so grateful to God, honestly. I really didn't expect it, Walter. I honestly can say I did not expect it. Because you know how you're like going down a path and like I'm in a season where I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do
Hmm.
and like where I wanted to land because I've been in the nonprofit sector for 23 years. I started out like in 2001 in the nonprofit sector. And then I started working with faith-based communities like in the last 5 years. And so having both experience, I've been able to really like this thing has is taken off and it is really surprising me, but I know it's probably no surprise to the Most High. He knew before I knew. And I was just like, is this the path? Like, because I like you write certain things in your journal. I guess for me, I just wasn't thinking. I don't know, y'all. That's all I gotta tell y'all. Like what you write down, right? When they say write the vision, make it plain in the word, it is that literally is what will manifest. And when you speak it out your mouth, when you say it, I've been saying this and I'm gonna keep saying this. I was a homeowner before I sold my house, and I keep saying I want to buy a house with cash. And I keep seeing it. I keep seeing me buying a house with cash. I keep
Oh
seeing it
wow.
like in my vision, right? So so I said, well, Lord, I need to be a multimillionaire first, right? And then I want to buy a house with cash. But the house buying a house to me is not just for me to have a home, but I also want to be able to like serve my community from my home,
Mm.
and in different ways. And so I believe that God is going to bless me with land so I can have a farm. I can give us fresh produce, all the things,
Oh,
you know what
wow.
I'm saying, Walter? All
Wow.
the things.
Okay.
Like, so I don't know. I'm just speaking it to the atmosphere and I'm telling people whatever you manifest and speak into the atmosphere, you write it on tablets, you pray about it, you trust God, you fast, like it will happen. It will happen. And trust the process. Don't give up, and just know that everything happens in its right timing. Like I can't stress that enough. Delay does not mean denied.
Oh, bingo. Amen to that. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That was, some really good wisdom and knowledge that you gave my listeners that they could walk away with. And you said to write it down in a tablet or on a notepad, and also you
Yes.
can also use my Black History Every Month planner as well. So be sure to visit my website, deepdiscussion.org, and click the shop link at the top. I actually just released some new hoodies and t-shirts as well, and I have 6 books that I released. So,
Wow.
and my books are pretty much all about, instructional, self-help and self-development. So be sure to visit my website if you want to wear some inspiration, write some inspiration, or read some inspiration.
Yes.
And again, Tammy, I thank you so much for, blessing the Live and Learn podcast with your presence. And we appreciate you listeners for tuning in to this informative episode. We hope that you come away with fresh insight, knowledge, and motivation to carry with you on your journey. Keep in mind that living and learning are constant companions throughout life. Please subscribe to my podcast and to my page, and make sure you sign up for my mailing list if you want to subscribe to my blog, and I'm going to release a newsletter beginning in 2025. So be sure to visit my website, and if you're interested in hiring me as a speaker, I'm I have plenty of workshops that I love to deliver to people. And my mission is to help people see adversity as an opportunity, not an obstacle. So if you or someone that you know can use a speaker that carries that message, I'm the guy. Contact me via email, deepdiscussion13@gmail.com, or you can contact me via phone 443-744-5406. And until our paths cross, continue to stay inquisitive and be great.